Hey everyone, it's Donter, and I'm back with a new video. This is going to be the evolution of EX and EX cards. I'm not going to really be able to define the difference between the two, but you'll see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to be trying to help you guys understand how they work. Um, yeah, I think this video is pretty awesome. So subscribe. I'm going to try to hit 100 subscribers by the end of 2024. I think that's a pretty reasonable goal, and I think that I'm going to try to push for that by the end of the year. Um, yeah, let's just get started. So firstly, I would say that most people like the old school style EX cards, um, mainly because of an artist named Hikaru Koike, who I'm going to be doing a little bit of a talk about in a second. But yeah, I would say they're one of the more influential Pokemon artists in terms of like the EX cards. I think they do a really great job with the ones that they did. Obviously, they don't do cards anymore, unfortunately, but I will kind of like show you their process and their like attention to detail in their cards. The Arcanine is drawn by Hikaru Koike. The Umbreon is drawn by Ryo Ueda, I believe. So they have very different styles, but I think that's something that the old school EXs have like towards their benefit is that they have like simplistic backgrounds typically, or the cards are just like a lot darker. They have the hollow foil borders. They have like the Cosmos foil, which really looks nice. And then yeah, simplistic borders. They look really good with the darker cards. And then black backgrounds or muted colors, kind of simplistic times, I suppose. We also had a return to EX cards in the black and white era. These cards were a completely new take on the classic EX cards with new golden text for the EX font. They have simplistic hollow effect, which looks perfectly fine. I think it looks good. I would say that these cards have like very nice dark shading. Um, and certain areas of the cards have like this just they just look really nice with their darker shading. I would say that they have like expressive and unique 3D artworks. They have a lot of personality in them. I would say typically the EX cards look pretty cool or menacing more often than not. They don't usually look like silly or stupid. They usually just look like pretty cool. Um, and we're gonna talk about Hikaru Koike right now, so let's get to that right now. All right, so this is Hikaru Koike's page. I'm going to be talking about his start a little bit and gonna go be like I'm probably going to go more in depth on this artist in a different day, but he got a start in a gym challenge and then he went to illustrate some cards for Skyridge, one of this one with the dark shading. You'll notice that is present in a lot of his cards or their cards. Um, that deep red simplistic background works perfectly. And I think that that shading style really carries their 3D artwork. I think that it always makes it look super interesting, very like eye-catching, especially for like a card like this Magneton. Magneton is like a silvery Pokemon, but the dark tech, like the dark shadows, look really nice on the Pokemon. So let's move right on to the EX card. So the first EX card that they did, or one of the first ones that they did, is the Lapras EX from EX Ruby and Sapphire. You can just tell that this card has like some heavy, like dark, black shading. Uh, Lapras's color is almost more of like a purple, like it's like a very deep blue in most aspects, which looks really cool. You have like a simplistic water effect in the background. Um, yeah, and they choose where they put the lighting like really specifically. So some areas are very light and some areas are very dark. Um, like for let's see, for example, like the Lugia. So this card is really nice as well. The shading is super dark on its legs, or like one of its legs and its body, and then its neck in some parts. But its wings are like perfectly bright and light. And then you have like it with its open mouth, a very expressive and dynamic pose. You also have like a really nice like splotchy black background, which is just simplistic. It looks really great. Again with the borders, I think that they always like, they complement the cards, especially like this Cactarn. Cactarn? Cacturn. It looks really expressive. It looks really cool, and the dark shadows really do a good job, like, and making this Pokemon look more menacing, more expressive. It just makes it look really interesting. And for a Pokemon like Cacturn, I think that does it a great service for sure. Anyways, let's go back to the presentation. Just give me a second. All right. So these EX type Pokemon cards brought something new to the table in the form of these full art cards, which are kind of reminiscent of legend cards. I'm going to throw one up on the screen right now, just in the fact that they were like full art Pokemon cards, which is a really great idea. It really like brings out the renders, makes them look really like, I don't know, accentuated. They have really nice looking colors. And I think that the colors contrast perfectly with their gold borders. I think that like the gold and green work really well against the yellow and orange in the background for the Virizion. These cards have like really good texturing, so they look really nice as well. Gold borders just look really good around the Pokemon. They're outlines, not borders, sorry. Next, we have the Team Plasma Pokemon. So something cool that EX Pokemon also did in the Black and White era is giving us two different kinds, which is the regular Pokemon and then the Team Plasma Pokemon. These cards have a really nice blue border, and they combine with a really nice looking blue outline on the full arts instead of a gold one, which looks really, really good. I think that Team Plasma cards always look really awesome, even for a Pokemon like Keytran, which I'm going to flash up on the screen really quickly. I think the blue works really well with Lugia here, in my opinion, with the white and blue. I just think like these cards look really astounding. Those like deep blue borders really are really just eye-catching, and they make the Pokemon cards just really pop out. Usually like with this Lugia, you have like the blue lightning, which looks really cool as well. And yeah, we have EX cards returning again. So back in the X and Y era, we have more EX cards. So it's pretty much like the exact same ones as before, but they tried to reinvent the wheel a little bit. Um, they have these really, really nice looking like artwork sometimes. So this is the first instance of a like 2D illustrated EX Pokemon card. This is illustrated by Ryota Murayama. And I really love the colors on this one. I think that it just looks like a really good looking artwork. Um, they had like the same kind of like, silvery blackish borders. And I think that the Pokemon always look pretty cool. In some aspects, they could also look dark like the original EX Pokemon, as well as the black and white ones, like with this Yveltal. The shading is really dark, looks really cool. The purple lightning also looks really cool. Um, yeah, I think that they did a really good job capturing like the EX feel of the black and white era, which is really good. And I think that usually they look really good. Now we have the full arts for the X and Y era. We're back to the gold borders, same thing as the black and white era, and I think that it looks fantastic here as well. Still very dynamic poses from a lot of these Pokemon. Like I really love the Aggron, how he's got his mouth open, but he's also like angled and he's also like looking over to the side. His arms are extended outwards, and the shading looks really good as well. It's not quite as dark as those original EX cards, but it still looks really good. And the backgrounds are a little bit more like detailed than the black and white ones, which is really cool. These cards have really, really great texturing as well, which gives all of the cards a very premium feel in the hand, which makes them feel like extremely individual and like really special. And then next we have the new mechanic that they introduced, which is called the MEX cards, which is like the Mega EX Pokemon cards. These card arts are really great. So many of them are just outstanding, I think. The cards feature Japanese text, and in this case for Aggron, it spells out the main attack of Mega Aggron EX being Megaton Slam in Japanese. The Japanese text is really awesome. It makes these cards feel even more special, and I think that combined with the flashy effects all around the Pokemon, it feels like these Pokemon truly broke their potential to smithereens. And what I mean by that is I think it just makes them look extremely special, really, really cool, especially combined with those gold borders on the full arts. I think that it makes them look even better, honestly. And now we have these secret rare Pokemon EX cards. So these are kind of like full art cards, but they're illustrated by Mitsuhiro Rita. So in a few of the XY sets, like in the very back half, they had these really, really cool looking secret rare cards with really, really good texturing, as well as gold borders. Something you might notice if you're astute is that both of these cards are illustrated by the same artist, being Mitsuhiro Rita. These cards feature multiple Pokemon, making them feel even more special. I think that the artworks on these are really insane, and I think that combined, like, they just have like a really, really cool idea. And I think they're like one of the best gold cards that we've ever received because those gold borders really do an even better job at just like illustrating how like awesome these cards look. Next, we have the modern EXs, and for the title I have newer is better, right? It says that new Pokemon EX attempt to pay homage to the original EX Pokemon, but there are many factors as to why they aren't the same as the old ones. Though I don't know if it was like their attempt to like capture the old feel of EXs. But if it was, it doesn't fit the original style of the EX Pokemon cards at all. On the old EX cards, a Pokemon would take up the whole card and they would have like the Cosmos hollow borders instead. The modern EX cards have like a simplistic glittery pattern across the card. Sometimes it makes them feel tacky and like almost fake. I think at this point we're used to it, but I still think that the regular gloss of like the EXs and the Vs and the GXs would have done just fine. I don't think they really needed to reinvent the wheel. But next we have the full arts, which are I would say is a mixed bag. For some reason, they decided to use a teal outline on the full arts instead of the gold outline that the old EX full arts had, which is definitely an interesting decision. I don't think that teal works for a lot of the cards. But I would say for the Alakazam, it works. It works pretty well with the purple, and then the teal looks pretty decent on Alakazam's yellow. Combined with his pose, I think that a lot of the 151 full arts look really, really good, which is good. But for the Iron Treads, I mean, honestly, I don't know how you could say that that looks like a good full art. Like, I don't think that the background is like very interesting. It's kind of like messy. Um, and the outline on this silver Pokemon on a purple background with red eyes, it just doesn't work in my opinion. Um, yeah, I think that the pose itself as well is just not interesting at all. Like compared to the Alakazam, it's not even comparable. These EXs are also a little bit disappointing in the fact that they don't really have any texture, which kind of sucks. Um, yeah, the outline I would say can do a lot of harm to an EX Pokemon as well. And then I would say that special illustration rares don't really mean much in this conversation. I think that I really love special illustration rares, obviously, because I have a listing, like a ranking of all the special illustration rares ranked. But I would say that this talk is mostly about how the EX cards themselves have evolved. We had alternate art cards already in the Sword and Shield era, and they're kind of similar to those. Obviously, I think Scarlet and Violet alt arts are a lot different from the Sword and Shield alt arts. Um, but we already had alt arts. The only reason that I mentioned those original gold secret rares from the X and Y era is because they're just like a completely new concept. And they aren't, I mean, they're like alt arts, but they're not exactly alt arts, Like it's a weird thing. They are secret rares, they're just different artworks, I would say. Maybe, I mean, obviously they are considered alt arts, like technically, but they just feel a little bit different from like our modern alt arts and stuff. They had a new gimmick in this era, which is cool. Enter Terastallization, which is a new gimmick in the Scarlet and Violet era. I would say these cards have like pretty good texture. I would say these cards have a lot more going compared to the regular EXs. Like they have more effects. They just look a little bit better overall. I like how you can see the cool like crystallized border around the Pokemon, like in the color that they're terastallized into, which is cool. I think the crystal effect looks cool. Um, but like obviously you're probably wondering what's on their heads if you don't know what's up. So the full arts are almost there. I would say that these are probably some of my favorite full arts like of all time. They would be if it wasn't for that obscenely big hat. Even if the hats were like 50% smaller, I'd be probably more okay with it. But the hats are huge. I mean, look at the fortress. It's literally bigger than the Pokemon itself, and he's literally just floating there, literally doing nothing. These cards have really, really good texturing, and they have really, really cool colored sparkles in them. Their hats totally ruin it, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, I think they could have just made the hats smaller, or they probably could have just had the type's insignia just embedded somewhere on the Pokemon randomly. That would look cooler. These cards are just a little bit disappointing overall, honestly. I think that they're almost there. They're so close, but they just miss it by like a tiny bit. I think that the Garchomp has like a pretty cool pose actually, but just that hat and Garchomp is like too small. The thing is, if the hat wasn't there at all, the Garchomp could afford to be like 25%, maybe 30% bigger, and it would look really good. With that texturing, those full arts would look great, but I don't know. Next, I have to talk about the Stellar Full Arts, which I think they look a lot better. I think it's like a breath of fresh air compared to like what we had before. Um, it portrays different types to break up on the hat, which makes it look a little bit more interesting than just having this giant, enormous hat for no reason. I think that having like all the different types on the hat is a really cool idea. And I think that the borders obviously look way better because they're like the rainbow borders, which like break up the monotony of seeing regular borders or the crystal borders. These ones are like rainbow. They look a little bit more intriguing, I guess. And I really like how dynamic that Flygon full art is. I really love the pose that it's in. And it's like big enough. Like it's definitely big enough, especially compared to the Garchomp. Like look at how small the Garchomp is compared to the Flygon. Like I think the Flygon is like a pretty good size, and the it looks way bigger than the Garchomp. This is like the Garchomp. I don't know. It just should be bigger, in my opinion. Next, I would say that the illustrated EX cards are really awesome. These two cards, the Ninetales EX by Koei and the Gengar EX by Nisota Niso, are two fantastic looking EX cards. There are a bunch of different examples of these too. There's a lot of different illustrated EX cards. I think they look amazing. They have a really good environment, and I think that when the illustrators take the reins of the EXs, they always look a lot better than the 3D generated ones. I'd love to see like a Terra Pokemon illustrated. That would be really cool. Um, I don't know. I just think they would look really cool. But why is it the case that people usually prefer the illustrated cards like compared to the 3D generated cards? I would say that they're really well, okay, this doesn't really have anything to do with like this point right here. So I'll just like talk about this point like real quick. I think that the most people probably prefer the illustrated artworks of the EX Pokemon just because they have a lot more personality in them. They have a lot more character. I think we're a little tired of seeing 3D artworks by now in the Pokemon TCG because we've been seeing 3D artworks since the Black and White era. No, we've been seeing 3D artwork since the EX era. Obviously the renders, I was gonna say genders, the renders of the Pokemon have gotten a lot better. Obviously, look at the Gardevoir; it has a good render. The Arbok has a good render. The effects look pretty good too. Um, I think I'm just tired of the fact that all the EX cards kind of feel the same. Like the 3D artwork is like really simplistic. It doesn't really do anything for me, honestly, at this point anymore. Especially after like GXs and Vs and other EXs. It's like I don't know. I think that we're due for just like an only illustrated kind of era of Pokemon cards, especially since like the special illustration rares, the art rares, they're all illustrated by actual 2D artists. It's just I don't know. It just feels a little bit weird to have 3D artwork in this kind of era. It's a little bit like late for that. But I would say that the two EX styles, the old school EX style and the new school EX style, just really aren't comparable. I think that it's kind of funny to me that these two Blastoises are kind of in similar poses, but obviously they look nothing alike. The new one has a way more detailed model, but the shading is like not nearly as deep as the original one. This one has like a beach in the background. This one has no discernible background. It's just like black and crystallized or lightning striking in the background. And that's okay. Like you can like this one more, or you can like this one more, and that's okay. But I think that the original ones just have like a certain like special feel to them. Maybe it's the simplistic text on them, simplistic borders. Um, obviously the text is probably like pretty similar, almost the same, but I'm just talking about like the feel of the card overall. Like they have like just I don't know, just like the setup of the card is just a little bit more vintage. It feels like um, the borders obviously do a big part in that, and I just think that the card itself just looks really different. I think that the old school EXs, like I said, have really amazing borders and they have like these really deep dark shadings which look really good. And the new ones are just like very detailed. Like you know what you're gonna get when it comes to like a 3D EX card. And I think that at this point, like, the renders are so detailed. We've already seen these Pokemon in so many different poses. I think we all, like a lot of people, most people probably want to see more illustrated EX cards. That's just my opinion though. And yeah, that's actually the last slide of my presentation. So if you guys enjoyed, leave a like and just let me know what you think about this. Um, if you want to see more illustrated EX cards like me, let me know in the comments. Or if you don't, then don't, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you guys want to make that happen, help me out by subscribing. And I hope you guys have a good day. See ya.